shut the door.
Let's see here.
You can try and just shut the pop up the webcam.
All right.
Oh, there it is.
Welcome. We are getting things set up. Here we go. This is we're trying a new system. You can tell we're in a different part of the house here. So we're hoping it's working okay. I'm going to check it on my phone here. Give people a chance to maybe find us. Ah, it is. There it is. Okay.
It's working?
It's working. Okay. Welcome. I'm Laura. This is Sam, if you're new here. And we are from Teal House Farm.
Oh, I need to do this the opposite way so we can see chat over here. There we go.
Welcome, Allison. Yeah. Sometimes we almost forget it's Monday night and don't show up. We're here though. And welcome, Silver Moon. Thank you for joining us today. Silver Moon, how are things going on your homestead? I've been peeking at your videos. It looks like you've been super duper busy.
Let us know if the audio feels off or you can't hear us, or if there's too much background noise, or if the video looks terrible. We need to change something because it's a totally different setup than we usually use. Hello, Holly.
Okay, I think I got it all posted everywhere it needs to be posted. We're ready.
Yeah,
we are ready.
Let us know if there's anything we need to change. If it's too loud, not loud enough.
You want to give them that?
Yeah.
Welcome from Wichita, Kansas. Yeah, Silverman says I've got so much to do, so little time and energy. I understand. I actually got a whole lot done today because Sam took the kids to the park for me this morning, so I was able to knock a lot of things out that I had on my list because I wasn't stopped every 3 minutes, so that was amazing.
Hello, Tara. Looks and sounds good. Awesome.
Awesome.
We have a little, kind of a slideshow I sort of threw together last minute for this. I think I've got some ideas in the future to make it just a little bit better.
We're trying to take our live stream from here to here.
Yeah.
Bringing it up to the next level for you guys with some more technology. So bear with us. We try to get this to work. Lois, thank you for joining us. So tonight we had so much fun last week talking to you guys a little bit about whether we were going to finish restoring the Teal House or if we were just going to end up building our own house on the property, what we were going to do. And we had so much fun sharing some of the stories we've had and learned about this area and about the Teal House. There's terrible glare on my glasses. And we realized there were just tons of stories that we didn't get to share, and it seemed like you all really enjoyed some of them. So we wanted to share some more things that we've discovered, and we also have some really old pictures. We were able to get in contact with one of the original owners, or their family, because the owners have been deceased for quite some time now. And they, over the years, have sent us pictures that they've found of our house, of what it used to look like and how things used to be set up, and learned more about the farm and all sorts of things. And so we're going to share some of those with you too, which I think will be fun. Now, we did tell the family we're not going to share any names, and because people don't take pictures of things, they take pictures of people. There are people in these photos, but we're sharing them with you to show you things that we've discovered about the property and about the house, kind of in the background of the pictures.
Hello, Homestead Nana.
So
just making sure we still
I
have
think
a good
everything's
connection.
still working.
Everything's looking good.
So we're going to start here with a little game, just to get things going. So let's see here. It's this one. Do I click it on it twice?
You just got to click on the eyeball there.
Got it. So this picture is the Teal House Farm in the past, when it used to be white. And I want to just see for funsies if anybody here can tell me what year they think this picture was taken. I know the year, and we're just going to see how close you can get for fun.
The car should be a big hint, I would say.
But I would keep in mind that the people who lived here were not necessarily very wealthy, so they weren't going to be buying a new car.
You can see somebody bent over the back of the trunk there, like unloading something.
So we'll get a couple guesses. I'll tell you the answer. But I also want to show you this picture. If you notice, the very front of the property looks like it's got a lot of bushes or some sort of ivy or something like that. That is what Sam wants to do now, because right now that is all grass and it is like a steep, steep hill. You can't ride it in a lawnmower, you'll tip over. So it
It's
has
not
to
much
be
fun to mow.
push mode, and it is not fun at
And
all.
all of those bushes and stuff like in the foreground, like all the way up close to us, all of that's been knocked down. And then all the bushes right in front of the house, when we bought the house, it was so overgrown up to the trees, like you couldn't even get to the house, and
Right.
we ended up just pulling it all out because it was such a big mess.
And those two trees that you see right in front of the house, the one on the left, we have knocked down because it was dying, and Sam actually almost died. Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah,
About
here
the tree?
I'll pop
Yeah,
it
we'll
back
go
to us
back.
for a second. We'll go back to the picture in just a second. So, because we bought the house before we actually moved here, I was mowing one summer, and that summer that we bought it, and I'm out here all by myself. uh, don't We may not have had cell phone service at that point.
Yeah, we didn't have
We
working
didn't have
phones.
anything that was gonna. Anyway, I'm mowing around that tree just with a little riding lawnmower, and all of a sudden I turn the corner. I had just mowed underneath the tree. I turn the corner, and there's a branch about this big around. I mean, huge branch that fell where I had just mowed. I mean, like 10 seconds before, maybe 15 seconds before. And so I definitely had
Me life flashed before
yeah,
me eyes.
someone watching over me there because it was scary to turn around. And after that, we were like, well, we got to get somebody to cut this thing down. I didn't feel safe cutting it down because it was so close to the house.
Yeah,
And so
it's gone now.
it's gone now. We had somebody come and just put it on the ground for us, and then we chopped it up for firewood after that. But yeah, that was a close one.
So a lot of you guys are real close, but Lois from Ohio, she hit it on the money. This picture is from 1955. And so that's what, almost 70 years ago. Am I doing my math right? So, one of the things though we've noticed, so the house used to have those two big trees. One is gone, the other one is going this year because it's also dying. I mean, those are old trees. But one thing that we've noticed is those trees were placed very smartly because back when there were two of them, it kept the house really cool in the summer, even though we don't have air conditioning. And even with one of them gone, that sun just comes streaming in the windows. It makes the house so much hotter. Karen, 66 years ago, thank you. I don't do math that well this late at night. And now the other tree gone, it's really gonna not be shady. So I think I want to maybe plant something up there for that purpose. Or Sam can build me a nice porch with an awning that'll block the sun coming in, because I was saying how the trees blocked the sun, didn't get as hot inside.
I know a lot of older houses back then too had like the double porch, and excuse me, they would use those porches for sleeping a lot of times in the summer, especially if you could screen one in. That would be really nice. But
Lady in the Mountain says the background is really bright, a little glary. You turn the lamp off.
yeah, you could try and turn the lamp off. See if what does that do for us? Is
that
better?
Too dark? I don't know if that really improves the background. It just makes me darker.
I mean, I could try and put like a filter on the webcam. Let's see.
Let's put that back. So, 1955.
Maybe I shouldn't try and edit stuff, but
we'll see. We don't want to lose our connection. Thank you. We'll see what we can do for.
It just might make our faces blue or something.
See what we can do for next time. So.
Keep going.
Okay.
Oh, you want to?
I think that was the end of that. I think that was it. So that picture, I'll show it one more time. That picture was 1955. But that is in fact not the oldest picture that we have today. But that is, I thought that was just neat to see. And other than the fact that it's blue now, it looks pretty much exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I can't tell. I don't know if the trim was quite as nice back then. Mm-hmm. Like it has some. Granted, the trim's fallen apart around the windows and stuff, but some of that trim might be a little different to what it has now. It was updated at some point.
So let's see. Do you want to tell a story? We'll tell another story. So Sam here.
You tell a story. I'm gonna try and get a filter on this webcam.
Well, the story has to do with you. So we're going to show a more recent picture in a minute. But one of the things that we've learned about, you can mess with it, about older houses and just how they were built, they had a lot of different things than our houses have now. Like we're pretty sure in the basement, so in our cellar, there's a big, it looks like a humongous vat, right? And we're pretty sure that it's a laundry vat, right?
We're not sure. It's like the weirdest looking. So if you go down into our basement, there's a big kind of square
brick, right?
pillar, made out of bricks, and it does have a firebox underneath it, and it goes to the flue, or there's a place where it would have gone to the flue. It's not connected anymore. But in the middle of it is a huge, like Laura said, just a big, huge kettle. And it's fairly close to where a cistern was, so you could get buckets of water and put it in there. And anyway, I interrupted. Yeah. That's our closest guess as to what it is.
So actually, if you have any better ideas of what that is, that's what I think it was. It's big. And like you said, it was right next to the cistern. But anyway, the cistern, Sam, about 2 years after we moved here, he was sitting in the rocking chair, and I want to show a picture, and it sounded like, what did it sound like?
It sounded like lightning struck the house. The whole house shook, and it was a huge just kaboom. And I thought honestly, I thought like one of those trees had fallen on the house, or we got hit by lightning or something. It wasn't storming, but this is the result.
Dun, dun, dun. So that was the water cistern that went down to that big kettle. And it had just given up. How long do you think that had been there since the house was built?
Yeah, I would imagine that cistern was probably original, and it caved in, and it we got it fixed fairly quick, but that wasn't even as bad as it was. Like a couple days later, it had fallen in even more. And fortunately, so I ran outside to see, because I run upstairs and, there's nothing falling in on the roof. And then I run outside and I see that. And immediately I'm like, well, the basement on that corner is probably gone and cracked. But fortunately, the basement right there is just fine. Like it wasn't cracked or right. anything like that. But that cistern was completely broken. And I guess what we've had people tell us is like over time, if that cistern doesn't have water in it and it's not poured very well, the pressure from all of the soil around it can cave it in because it doesn't have the water to give it pressure from the inside. So that cistern was dry, like we hadn't filled it or had anything in it in a long time, and so it
wasn't the cistern supposed to fill from the roof though? Like rain?
Yeah.
But it wasn't connected?
Right. It had not been connected since we lived there. So they literally caught their own rainwater back then for that cistern down in the basement. I would imagine they had like hand pumps so they could pump water. So they had, I guess you wouldn't call it running water, but they had water inside the house.
So would they drink water from that cistern? Isn't that
probably
get some strange diseases?
Maybe. I'd say there's a chance for that, yeah. But that was super scary when it happened. I thought, like, worst case, like, all of the bad things had happened when that cistern cracked and exploded. But I will say, we had a guy, like, we don't have any big equipment, and I don't have any experience with that stuff. But we had a guy not too far away from us. They have a landscaping company, and he came in and filled it, and it is sunk just a little bit, but that was like 5 or 6 years ago. So he did an incredible job filling in that cistern because I was afraid maybe it didn't get filled in or broken up very well. And, I didn't want one of the kids running over there and it falling in.
Right. Well, we also didn't want putting too much pressure on the basement wall and causing our basement to, fall in or something.
He did a really, really good job breaking it apart and filling it in. And if we told you and you looked at it, you're like, oh, I can maybe see a little bit of leveling there. And with the leftover rock and gravel that he was really nice and filled in part of our driveway that was major. Oh, it was terrible.
Oh, but just so you know, a cistern cave-in is not covered under home insurance policy. So,
Well,
because
not under ours
yeah,
anyway. Maybe
that one of those things you never even think to like, gee, do I need to look at my insurance policy and see if it covers if my cistern explodes? Like,
yeah. I mean, it literally like cracked in a couple different pieces. It was kind of crazy.
what was it made out of? Because I didn't even see it. Was it? Is it?
It was concrete, but you know, you don't know when it was poured or what kind of materials they had, so it could have been really poorly made concrete. And you know, I'm sure it probably lasted 70 years or more. You never know, but at that point, we weren't using it. So.
No, we weren't using it. Then somebody in history had dumped a whole bunch of. There was like a bicycle down there.
There was trash and stuff down in there. Yeah, we kind of peeked in at one point in time, but
so. Okay, let's look at an old picture. I have a fun one here. Let's see, where is it? So this is.
Just gotta hit the.
Okay, I always forget. This is what is actually now our bedroom, circa about 19. We think this is about 1950. Maybe. Hey, you could guess. Does this look like 1950 to you?
Yeah, can you tell by the wallpaper or the lamps or
the furniture or anything?
Yeah, so like that ottoman or footstool, whatever you want to call it.
But one of the things I thought was fun about this picture is if you look closely, you see that string, that wire up in the corner. So this is right when they first sort of electrified the farmhouse about that time. But they wouldn't have gone in and wired the whole house.
Through the walls.
It was way too expensive, but you know, you want a little bit of light. So that's they literally had in every room, they ran the wire from the plug, right? Just up to a light that was hanging on the ceiling. So you had wires hanging down in your rooms, but you were able to electrify the light. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. That wallpaper is still behind our painted walls too, so when we pull off framing and stuff, we can find that wallpaper, which is kind of fun. So got it.
There you go.
I thought that was kind of cool. We now do have electricity in the walls. At some point somebody came in and wired everything.
It's been wired and rewired a time or two, that's for sure. It did have some knob and tube, but all of that has been pulled out, and it's had the regular wire, but that kind of needs to be redone as well.
Kind of a hot mess.
Anyway.
So, do you have a story you want to share?
No,
not really. Okay.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. You've done a lot more digging into the history of the farmhouse in the area than I have.
Okay, so let's play I have another little guessing game because those are always fun.
Okay.
So in our biggest pasture, which if you've been watching, you'll see we just fenced.
Set up a poll here.
Oh, you want to make a poll?
I can try. I don't know if it'll. All right, what do you want?
Okay, we're gonna ask you a question. So in our biggest pasture, we have a large concrete pad. And it's circle. And for a while, we were like, "What on earth is this?" Because it's in the very middle of the field, and it's a circle. And it obviously been there a long time. It been grown over. And we found a picture actually that it shows in the background what it was. So the guess is, what is the large concrete pad? Do you think it was some sort of waterer for an animal? Do you think it was some sort of food or hay storage for an animal?
Sorry. I'm slow. I'm trying to make this poll. Hopefully, anyway, let's see. You said
hay storage or feed. Or do you think it was a structure?
I think that's the only. It won't let me put any more.
Okay, it won't let us. So you can just guess. Or some sort of structure. Or do you have another idea?
Well, I tried to be all cool.
That's not. Well, none of the right answers are there. Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Don't answer the poll. It's not correct.
I'll just end the poll.
Okay.
It didn't let me do it how I wanted to. Anyway.
So, but I was kind of, for a long time, I was like, I wonder what that is. Not having grown up on a farm and not being very familiar with what they would have had back in the...
Holly said that's the kind of wiring that was in the old house in Annapolis. One light bulb in the middle of the room and extension cords run.
It just seems like, Holly, a fire hazard. No? Or it seems like it wouldn't have been that bright. Maybe. But I guess anything is better than what you had before.
I mean, they were probably doing oil lamps or kerosene lamps before then. So, yeah.
So you guys got it. It was.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
I think we did. You see it in the back there. The concrete pad is still there. That is the silo.
So this is their picture is from our front yard is what they're standing in.
And they're looking with the field over their back shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that they grabbed, they were dressed nice for whatever, and you can tell like somebody was like, "Oh, go grab that vase off the kitchen table to take that picture," and so they ran and got some pretty vase with some pretty flowers so that they could take their picture.
No, do you know what this picture is? I actually know what this picture is. Does anybody have a guess of what this picture is? Why they are all dressed up and holding flowers?
Well, she has
she has a little
boutonniere
boutonniere on.
Is it a wedding? That would be my guess. Or a funeral, one or the other.
It is a wedding. We know that one of their children got married much older in life, when the child was in like her 40s or 50s, and so they are in their 70s, and they got married, had a wedding at the house, and so this is a picture from the wedding. So
an alien landing pad.
Yeah, maybe.
An anniversary or an Easter. Yep, that's a good guess.
So
I don't know what is that. What does she have tied around her
I think
waist?
It's just the belt of her
dress. The belt of her dress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, I like her the vase that she's holding out for their picture. So I think it's cute.
But that is their daughter's wedding, and I actually have a picture of the whole family standing right in front of the house at that wedding too. It's cute. So, okay, so let's look at this picture. I thought this was kind of fun. I'm just going to show you this. So it used to be back in the history, before there were large conglomerate schools, that every little community had their own schoolhouse. And we know that somewhere slightly across the street there used to be a schoolhouse, and it is not there anymore. I tried to go look. Somebody told me you could still see it, but
you could probably see some foundation.
I couldn't find it.
I did zoom in on it just a little bit. It had the name of the town and stuff up there, which I guess doesn't really matter,
But this is the schoolhouse. This is the one room classroom with all the different ages, and I thought it was interesting. So this picture, I believe, is about 1940 as well. But if you look really closely, you'll see some of the kids don't even have shoes on. So like that little girl in the front is not wearing shoes.
They must have known it was picture day though, because a lot of them are dressed like fairly nice. So they must have been like either at the beginning or the end of the school year or something, and told everybody like, okay, wear your pretty dresses for picture day or something.
I don't know though. I guess this is a discussion for those who know more than we do. But I always just like, you only had a couple outfits, and people used to get dressed up to go to school. No?
Every day?
Would you wear your best or one of your better clothes to school, right? Because you would want to look your best?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know for every single day if they do that. I think for special days. I mean, the boys had overalls on, but I know my grandpa had his during the week. My great grandpa had his during the week overalls, and then he had his Sunday overalls that were pressed or whatever. So I don't know.
So. But I also thought it was interesting. I feel like looking at this picture, you can tell which little boys were the troublemakers too. There's a couple in every class. It doesn't matter what year it is.
By their faces.
By their faces.
I like these two in the front. A little boy and little girl look like twins with their little jumpers or whatever you want to call it on. They got their dark jumpers with the stripes and the little white shoes. She almost looks like a Shirley Temple, kind of, with her little curly hair.
Something else that was fun is there's a gentleman that we've known for years through church, and we found out that his family grew up in this community, and so I sent him this picture, and he's pretty sure, he's older than we are, he's pretty sure that his dad is in that picture.
Oh, really?
And so I thought that was kind of like, what a small world, so...
Allison says, I grew up living in an old schoolhouse in Wisconsin that was renovated into a home. It was called the Washington Schoolhouse. That's awesome. Yeah, this schoolhouse, if I pull back from the picture, excuse me, I'm spitting. If I pull back from the picture, you can see it just has the town name. It's just a simple, really simple little schoolhouse. But yeah, I'm sure some of that foundation is there, but you might have to kick through some weeds to find it.
I don't know. Even looking at the foundation in this picture, it looks a little questionable. Do you think?
Well, that's just a stone foundation.
I mean, the community probably built their own school, so.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what else we got for today. Do you guys have any questions? We can answer questions too, or we can just keep chatting.
questions about the farmhouse.
Yeah, I did learn today, actually. I stumbled upon an article that was in, I was trying to find a picture. So we learned a long time ago that where this house is, within walking distance, there used to be a general store, a blacksmith, and a post office. And we know where the general store was because the foundation is still there on the end of the street. But I want to try to find a picture of it because I was going to show you what it used to look like and then the foundation that's still there. And but I couldn't. I could not find a picture of it. But I did run across a really neat article that somebody was just writing some memories of growing up in this town from, a while, from way in the past. And they told, and it said in there, the people that used to own this property, we never really quite knew what they farmed because the people who are still alive in that family were very little when they were visited this house, and they really didn't remember. But we learned it used to be a dairy farm. I didn't know that.
He had Jersey cows, is what it said, and we knew that there was a big barn kind of in the back, like probably past our property just a little bit. There's kind of a flat spot up there in our neighbor's property, and we've seen some old aerial photos. I can't remember when they were from.
They were from like the 40s or 50s. No, I think they were later than that. Maybe. No?
I think they were older than that.
Okay.
But anyway, there were some aerial photos, some old aerial photos, and there was a big, big barn back there. And I tried to go back there and find that, and I couldn't find any evidence. I mean, it was a massive
huge
barn.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it was a dairy barn, that makes sense. But you do wonder how many cows he ran.
Well, and that brings up the question, because we've talked about having a Jersey cow before, and we don't feel like this property is the best property for that kind of cow, right? You said that before.
I think it could be okay. I think back then they probably had a lot more property cleared out, and this farm used to be like hundreds of was it like 1,000 acres at one point?
Yeah, something like, at the very beginning.
At the very beginning, it was a vineyard initially, but it wasn't like 1,200 acres or something.
Yeah,
crazy
but I
like
think
that.
by the time it was a dairy farm, it was like 300 acres.
Yeah. Initially, it was like one of the bigger vineyards, and
but that's way in the past. I think we're getting our years. When the property was first purchased in like the 1800s, it was a vineyard that failed, went bankrupt, and then eventually the people who built this house bought it from the company that went bankrupt and started a farm. But
they just bought a portion.
But they bought a portion of it, like 300 acres. So
the area, if you go south of St. Louis and kind of follow 94, there's a bunch of vineyards down there, and so the whole area, we're closer to mid-Missouri, but the whole area kind of down there along the Missouri River is all vineyards, and a lot of it was settled by the Germans. So
Tara says, we have an old barn on our property that I would love to restore, but I believe it was just for cows. So Sam went back there. I think he was hoping just a little bit there was a hidden treasure back there for him to be like, wah, and restore and have this big barn, but there was absolutely nothing back there.
No, it's gone.
So
hello.
Hi, Grammy.
Grammy.
And Tehan 141 Homestead. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for hopping in. Yeah, so they did we have I'm gonna have to go check upstairs.
Somebody
They're jumping off
somebody
beds,
fell down.
And it sounds like someone just snapped their leg. So I'll be back.
Okay.
Sorry, I bumped the table. I'll be right back.
Yeah, Lady in the Mountain says, we always dress well for school. Thank you for supporting my cons. I think that was probably, I'll show the picture again for some people that just joined us. But I think everybody's dressed up because I think you put on your best for school. So that is the schoolhouse that used to be kind of across the street from us, but it's no longer there. So take me to Tammy's house. Thank you for joining us. So one thing I did learn, I did learn that in the past, the Missouri River actually used to be skinnier, and they did something, and I can't remember exactly what it was called, but they basically like scraped the riverbanks for some reason to make it wider. And it used to be that where our street is, where there's a lot of farms, that the Missouri River didn't overflow its banks like it does now, and now we get some incredible flooding. due to that work that was done, I believe, in like the 40s. And it diverted part of the river. It changed some of the smaller streams that feed into the river, and it just changed the landscape. It changed where the flooding happens. The flooding used to happen several miles away, and there was actually an area of land. It was called the island because certain times of the year it'd be so flooded, the only way you could get to it was by boat. And when they scraped the river, it made it flood more towards where we are. And now where the general store used to be, where several churches used to be, that area now it's like a lake in the spring.
Yeah,
I mean, that destroyed a good area of farmland. And I think that is part of the reason why so many things that we've heard about when reading about the farmhouse don't exist anymore, because they had to be moved because of the flooding. We also know that the town closest to us, there was a flood that was so bad in the 90s, they literally moved the town to the top of a hill
up on top of the bluff
because of the flooding that was now happening from the changes to the Missouri River.
They actually got some national media, national news about it, because instead of just like kind of bulldozing that part of the town over, they literally like took houses and moved them up on top of the bluff.
Tara says, how do you go about researching a property online? I'd love to get some history on our place. That's a great question. So what happened? There's two things that happened. The biggest thing was that we found, if you weren't here last time, we found an old school book in the basement from 1920s, and it was signed. The little girl has signed it. And from that, we were able to take the name that she had signed. I went on ancestry.com and I looked her up, and we actually found the family that was related to her. And in our case, it was actually a pretty small family tree. From there, there were only 2 people I could actually still contact, because
remember we told you the one lady never got married,
and then several of the other children got married, but they were older and they never had children. So there was basically one line of ancestors from this family.
Thanks for popping in.
And through that, I was able to contact the family, and they were very, very kind, and they sent me all sorts of pictures. They were really excited that somebody was living in the house, because they, I guess, had driven by before, and the house had been vacant for quite some time, and it made them kind of sad, because it was their kind of, a lot of them had memories from being really young children here. And the other way, Tara, is also with Ancestry.com, which most libraries, you can access it for free if you do it in the library. You can actually search the address of your house, and it'll pop up every time it was on the census. And then you can take the census information, you can grab the names off of it, and then start researching the people. And then that's kind of how you can start discovering what the land was used for.
You can also go, a lot of times if you go to your county seat, there is a historical society or a museum or something there. And, if there's someone there, most of the times it's very knowledgeable, and you just tell them the family you're looking for, or the property that you're, the area you're kind of in. And a lot of times they can fill you in on the history around you. Now, our problem is we're like right on the county line. And so when we talked to the historical society closest to us, they were like, we don't really have a lot for that area.
Oh, and I forgot, if you search Missouri, and it's called a plat map, Platte, the Missouri Department of whatever that keeps those kind of records has them all online for free. Excuse me. And so you can look up your township, and it'll show you how the properties are all divided, and I'll have the name of the owners of the property, and they make those every 10 years, I think.
Yeah, so you can go back for
so we could go back
long time
to the 1880s, which is when they bought the property, and they had a cabin first and then built this big house. We were able to go and see when the property changed hands, who used to own it, how big did it used to be. We found out kind of fun, back then people didn't have cars, and so they didn't travel very far from home, and so you could see these properties were all owned by different families, and then it looked like the families all intermarried, and it became a huge property, and then everybody had the same last name. So it was just kind of fun to see. So, but it's really fun. It is kind of sometimes a wild goose chase. I spent a lot of time not being able to find things. I also wasted a lot of time because I didn't realize that the town name had actually changed. So once I figured out when in history the town name changed, that also helped me find, because the census wasn't popping anything up. because this town hasn't existed as long as the house has been here. So
I think the most fun out of like doing all that research though is to look through the census
the
stuff.
census is so much fun.
It's really interesting to see like how people viewed themselves, kind
Mhm.
of, and what I don't know what was written down about them. We do know that they had some servants here too.
Right. Oh, that's a fun story. I didn't tell you this
For
story.
well, you tell it because I
Okay.
that's about all I know. But we did. Oh, yeah, that is a good story.
That is a
That's
good
kind of
story.
a scary.
It
Well,
is.
not
It was a
scary, but
scary story, but it turned out to be a good story. So we used to only, well, for a very long time, we only owned one car, and Sam would go to work, and I would be home with the kids. And so somebody came and drove up and parked right in front of our house, popped out of their car, and started taking pictures of my house. And I was home alone with the kids, and I was like, "What on earth is going on?"
the funny thing is,
And then
we
I peeked out the
actually knew
window.
him.
I was like, I know that person.
Yeah.
I knew him because we used to work at the bank, and he was always a really friendly guy. And I'd see him almost every day because he worked for a local town, so he was always coming in doing accounting stuff for the town. So I knew him by name, and I popped out of my front door, and I was like, Steve, what are you doing? Taking a picture of my house. And they thought because there was no car here, and by the state of the house, that the house was abandoned.
Yeah.
And he was taking pictures because his great aunt, I think it was, had passed away and she had been born in the house. Now, I'll tell you, so I chatted with him for a little bit and then they left. And in my naivety or however you say it, I was like, I'd never expected an African American couple to own this house, historically. And then through more research, and I should have realized this of how the world used to be, that they didn't own the house. This lady didn't own a house and have a baby in it. She was the hired help and was probably not treated as kindly as she should have been. But sometime in the 1920s, this lady had a baby in the house, and that baby had grown up to become my friend's great aunt, and she had passed away. And so they had come by to take pictures of the house for the funeral because they wanted to show the house that she had been born in. I did try to so his like grandfather was in the van with him, and his grandfather must have been close to 100, and he was recalling the 1920s and the 1930s coming and visiting what was his grandmother or whatever at the time while she was working here.
And there was like another house here too,
Right,
or a
and
cabin.
there
Or
was like a
something.
cabin for the help, and so
We don't
it
know
was
where that was.
it was he was just telling us about how he'd get like a nickel or whatever if he was really good while he was visiting. They get a nickel and he could go down to the store and get a soda, or maybe it was even like a penny, I don't know, and he'd go down and get a soda. And Sam and I laugh about that because now that we have a lot of kids, be like, man, if we still had a general store here, there's a lot of times it'd be
a
like,
lot of nickels.
here's some nickels. Go down to the store and get yourself
go
a
get
soda.
a soda, and you buy yourself.
Go find something. Take as much time as you need.
Buy yourself 30 minutes of just
peace and quiet,
drinking my coffee, or whatever. If there's something you needed to get done. Yeah, we've both said we kind of wish there was still a general store at the end of the road.
One of the things I thought, I was like, maybe we should do that. We should have like a farm store. People could stop in and get like hand dipped ice cream cone and soda, on their way through, because
there are a lot of people that
travel
this
for
area.
the scenery.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool to have one. So
excuse me.
Hey, Dean family, thanks for joining us. And Refining Roots says that's so neat. The past is such an amazing thing. It is, and it's so different. And sometimes I think we lose appreciation for how.
Keep adjusting this the wrong way.
My stupid glasses. I should have gone no glare. We lose appreciation for how difficult everyday life was. Just like everything you had to do yourself with your muscles to get anything done. Like one thing we also know, so in this house right here, right over there,
you can kind of see it.
That's another chimney. There's a chimney in every room in the house. So we're guessing, somebody knows more about history than we do, because we can't find photographic evidence, was that there was like a potbelly stove in every room. Like, can you imagine the amount of work? It's no wonder they had hired help to keep all those stoves running and to not burn your house down while you were trying to run them.
Keep track of all of them.
Keep track of all of them. Like, it's hard enough just having one to heat your house. Like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And like we said, downstairs, we assume that's where they washed. Like, they were able to boil their water and wash clothes down. Like, that's how they had to do it, was boiling water. Maybe that was a luxury to have that in your basement. You
basement,
didn't
yeah,
have
the
to go
laundry.
outside.
But here's my question: if there are boiling water in the cellar, if that's really what it is, wouldn't you have a massive moisture problem? Or did they not care about mold back then?
I don't know. Maybe they had a way to vent it out. I mean, there's windows down
That's
there.
true.
I guess you could open them up. Jepco says, I may be misremembering. Wasn't there something built or buried into the side of a hill on your property?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, I should have put a picture of that on here.
there
That
is
would
a
be cool.
cellar over there. We haven't dug it out yet, but we do know kind of where it's located. It's over kind of in our chicken slash goat
Right. So
pen.
the goats and the chickens have done such a good job grazing. It's just like a place on a property kind of drops off, and we it looked like somebody tried to bury something there, and we thought they had buried
You can
maybe
see
some
kind of an outline
animals or
of
something like a cemetery.
well, I don't know
I
about
don't know.
that, but you can see like some
Right.
rock
I
slash
think I
concrete
have a
kind of
picture here. I'll
stuff.
see if I can pull it up. But as they've eaten more and the dirt has started to kind of erode away over there every time it rains because they've eaten it down so much, we can tell it was a root cellar, and you can still see the door for it. And as they have, at some point in history, it probably caved in and they filled it in. But we're curious to unfill it because the walls seem to all still be there, like how big it is and things like that. I'll see if I can find a picture here.
Yeah, the one of our neighbors remembers going down in there, and he says it was a decent sized cellar. Now he was a kid or younger when that happened, but Silver Moon says, "I wish I could just walk into a house and put my hand on a wall and be able to see
I
the
don't.
history of the building." Yeah, I feel the same way. It would be really cool. I mean, we're lucky enough that we've made connections with the family so that we kind of know the history of this farmhouse and some of what happened here. But yeah, I feel the same way. Bill, thanks for joining us. Soft serve ice cream stand coming soon. That would be fun.
Goat milk, honey. We'll get some bees and we'll make goat milk honey ice cream, and it'd be the place to stop on your way through.
You think so?
Yeah, it's my idea. I have all these ideas. Like we're gonna turn the farmhouse into if we built another house and redid this too, it would be like a restaurant, but only open like 3 days a week when people are traveling through the area on the weekends, and it'd be family style. So you eat what I'm cooking, but you get it in like humongous proportions, and you would like reserve your table, and you'd come and you'd get like big thing of mashed potatoes and gravy on, and you just sit with
big
people,
pots
just
of
big bowls,
yeah, big bowls of
Amish
stuff.
style.
Refining Root says, absolutely. I try and express that to my children gently when I get the chance at certain things.
Yeah, I can't find a picture. I had one of the root cellar, but we would love to dig it out one day. And one of our friends from church has equipment, and he's offered before to come down and help us. So we might have to take him up on that. And we of course will video it so you can all be amazed of whatever was down there. So
Let's see. And Dean family says, our parents remodeled an 1890s house in the 1990s. Oh, the stories and things we found. There's been just enough remodeling and stuff here that we have not found that many cool things really.
we found a lot of questionable choices.
I was really bummed because we've got this old shed out back, and it's really getting wore down, but I mean it was full of just junk and stuff. The people we bought the house from actually left us the note and said, sorry, but we're kind of leaving this stuff. We don't have time to clean it out. So anyway, I cleaned it out. I found maybe a couple of tools that were old, and they weren't in that great shape. So I was a little bummed.
But you want to tell? This is a funny story. You about had a heart attack the first time you walked into the shed. Remember that?
Well,
Scared the pants off you.
yeah, out in the very back of the shed. I mean, it was piled with.
Can I get out?
Here, I'll grab it real quick.
Okay. He will come back to resume the story. This is kind of a funny one.
Okay.
So, we're doing this instead of in the kitchen, but that means little man is right here trying to sleep. We woke him up. Hi, little
man. If we do it, I keep bumping the desk. I'm sorry. If we do it here again, I'll try and put a filter on the webcam so it tones it down a little bit.
Won't
it
be
is
so
kind
bright.
of bright and shiny.
We'll work on that.
Almost grabbed a coffee cup. Anyway, so the shed is just piled with I don't want to say junk. Some of it was nice stuff, but just all kinds of stuff piled. Anyway, I opened the door, And in the back corner, all I can see is like this much. There's a head peeking out, and they had a couple mannequins there, but like you couldn't tell that it was there. And the mannequin did have like some clothes and stuff on. So I swear it took me like I didn't clean it out until I don't know, maybe we had been here 6 months or so. But it literally took me probably a couple months to get used to walking in there and then
We
having
called
those
him
eyes.
Truman.
Yeah.
Truman was looking at you.
That's what his
Shirt.
shirt said. There's a Truman College around, and that's what his shirt said. We called him Truman, but it was a little scary to have somebody staring at you in the back of your shed. Let's see. We have some fun history about our house. We do.
We do. It's fun. I'll tell a really short story. A gentleman, he came and visited us, and his great grandparents that owned this house. You remember being a very small child and coming to visit them in the summer, and he asked my kids. He was like, "So have you guys all rid the banister or rode the banister down yet?" And I was like, "Don't
Give them ideas.
They haven't figured that out.
They do everything else.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Let's see. T-Hand Homestead says indoor ice boxes made root cellars obsolete. It would be nice to rebuild and use it. Yeah, I know. We really want to dig it out and see what we can. Oh, he's gonna grab that. See what we can find. Maybe a cafeteria or potluck style cooking. That would be fun.
Be fun.
Holly says I have a secret room in the basement that has been bricked up. Someday I'm going to open it. I believe it is an old cold room.
Oh, okay.
That's really cool.
That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting.
And also sometimes I get kind of scared, be like, well, why did they brick it up?
Yeah,
like, what's in there? What skeletons are buried behind your house?
Mm-hmm.
So,
what,
Mr. P?
What are you doing? You got a boogie on your nose, man. Let's see. Oh, we showed all of our pictures, didn't we?
We do know. I guess this is just we can maybe wrap it up with this story. So the original owners, they were Irish immigrants that came over in the 1880s, and so that would have been like potato famine time, I'm guessing, right? And they were both illiterate, and they lived on the property in some sort of, according to the census, a tiny little shanty type cabin for like 15 years before they built this house. And then they died like 4 years after the house was built. So that's probably a little bit of life of disappointment to wait that long to have a house.
Back then you probably only lived to be 45
you don't really get to enjoy it.
So if you wait 15 years to build a house, that's half your life.
So everyone says, I was just thinking, I hope you don't find any bones in that root cellar. Yeah.
Never
might solve, cold case, 40 years old, solved by farmer. So Anne says, my parents rented old farmhouses as I was growing up. One of them had a dumbwaiter in it. Lots of fun playing with it. I'm sure you never tried to put a sibling in it, huh?
It depends how big it was.
Yeah.
But, our girls would have so much fun with that. They'd be sending toys and things up and down it constantly.
Tara says, my mind always goes to spooky stuff in old homes. No ghosts in your house? No.
No, but I'll tell you, our pastor that we had for a long time, his name was Gary. And when he's been around this area for forever, and we told him where the farmhouse was, and he tried to pull our leg a little bit. He goes, "Oh yeah, I know about that house. It's like been haunted for years." Thanks, buddy.
No, nothing spooky. No weird closing doors or. We can't even get the doors to close when we try to close them. The house is so crooked.
He was just pulling our leg though. No ghosts or anything around here. We're good.
Iris Lee says perhaps a safe room for the Underground Railroad. Would there be Underground Railroad out here?
I know. I'm not sure. I mean, we're close to the river. I don't know if that matters. We're close to the actual railroad, too, so...
Was Missouri ever a slave territory?
It was in the middle. Okay. They were both.
I don't know. I didn't grow up out here, so I'm not an expert on Missouri history.
There was, in this area, there was like a little... In the town next to us, there were like a few little skirmishes, but I mean... When I say skirmishes, I mean it was like between about 20 total soldiers. Like there was a like a colonel or a captain that died once. That was kind of a big deal, but
All right, and Ann says mostly we used it for toys and snacks.
Yeah.
So my brother took a rider.
Ooh, snacks.
Send
Now
snacks
that's a good
upstairs.
idea.
My kids do not need any more snacks.
Oh man, they'd send one down to send all the snacks
No,
up for
they
everybody.
would. They'd probably yell down the stairs and be like, "Mom,
Mom, send up
some snacks."
Yeah, that would be
Ruth asked what city I grew up. I grew up in Connecticut, actually. So, quite a ways from here. But I like it out here.
You like it in Missouri?
I like it. It's slower pace of life. It's a lot cheaper.
Now, I will say though, Laura, like when we were first dating and engaged and stuff, she acted like she was in the city and that Connecticut was just all city. And there's a lot of city, but there's also quite a bit of farmland in Connecticut too. You just weren't
It was all
connected
all
to
tobacco farms.
Yeah.
My parents were not anywhere. We weren't even allowed to have pets because, sorry, Grammy, but Grammy doesn't like animals in the house. So I've never had. The best I had, we had a guinea pig in a cage. But
well, she tried to tell me I had a truck when we were dating, and she was like, "Wow, I've never even like seen a truck. We don't have those in Connecticut." Yes, you did. And I was like, "Oh wow, you don't have those in Connecticut?" Like, is the big
stories.
There's the just cities, and then when I actually went to visit her, I'm like, "Oh, there's a lot of farms around here."
T-Han141 says, I live in upstate New York, and there are houses that actually have little hidden rooms for the underground railroad.
That's cool.
That would be really cool. That'd be really cool. Karen says, one of the towns I lived in had underground railroad under a few houses in Massachusetts. Yep, and we, growing up in Connecticut, there were houses. There was like a historic street in my town where they tried to keep houses exactly how they looked in like the 17 and the 1800s. And then I remember touring one of the houses when I was in like elementary school, and they showed us the room. They had an underground railroad room too. That was pretty cool. So, all right. Have a great night. T-Hand 141. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hit the like button. Yes. That's right.
Thank you.
That always helps.
I mean, those are all the stories I had. Connecticut is suburbs of New York City and Boston. Less farms each year. Sad.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably true.
And I also, some of that is just the way unfortunately farming going to the large monoculture type systems where you have to make money as a farmer, you really have to grow incredible amounts or raise incredible amounts, and the land in Connecticut, at least where I lived, is already so sectioned off, you know, so many generations of people that lived there, you couldn't really do that. So it's very difficult to make money. Not that it can't be done. I mean, there's people with CSAs and things like that.
There's another big YouTuber. I can't remember his name now. He's got chicken coops he does. Oh, what is his name?
Oh, is the guy who does it in the highway, like, islands? No?
No.
Okay.
No. John Soskovich. He's in Connecticut.
Okay.
He's got a brewery and a microbrewery. And he uses that to feed pigs and chickens and stuff like that. But he's in Connecticut. Okay. I know. I'm sure there's others too. But he's a pretty John Soskovich. He's pretty popular.
Well, that's the YouTuber. Guy you copied his chicken tractor.
Yeah, but his chicken tractor plans, and a lot of people build the Salatin style chicken pens, like for your meat birds. But I wanted something that I could actually walk into because. Are you waving? Are we saying hi? You saying hi? You're a stinker. I wanted a chicken pen I could walk into, and the Salatin ones you gotta crawl in if you want inside them. And so I actually would recommend building one of his pens. They've lasted and held up really, really well.
We use them for everything too. They've been chicken tractors, and then they were goat quarantine. We had sick animals. They've been greenhouses. They've been about everything. So it was worth the effort. They're very sturdy. We just change the tarps on them every once in a while. So, all right, I think we're good for the night. So thanks for stopping by. We enjoyed showing the old pictures and sharing them with you and some of the old stories. I think that's all.
You little stinker. I prefer the Soskovich style. Also, I don't like having to bend upside down to reach everything. Yes, exactly. They do work well.
You good?
Yep,
you want to say bye, Patton?
Can you say bye?
Say bye. Thanks for watching.
Bye. You'll have to end stream up there.
Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.